Today I'm excited to share with you a universal sewing technique that is not hard once you practice. Get some scraps, get it out of the way and sew it a few times, and then when it gets time to put it on a garment, you'll be very confident. Single welt pockets, they can be either fake or actual pockets. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today I have a sewing technique video getting you prepared for something that's coming very soon, tomorrow, from Love Notions, and it's a brand new set of trousers. These are designed for knit fabrics, bottom weight, and they have a lot of classic features that you would see on woven pants, but they can also be sewn on stretchy pants. So they can look really, really sharp, but have the comfort of being stretchy and amazing. I am allowed to share the liner. It's already been shared on the socials of Love Notions, and these are called Bridget. This was a pattern that was elaborated in collaboration with Whitney from Tomcat Stitchery, and this is releasing tomorrow. Now, I had a lot of fun sewing my two pairs. I have sewn a lot of the steps for you to see tomorrow, but I wanted to have the welt pockets separately here. I have filmed welt pocket videos in the past, but they have been different techniques and they have been sewn on different areas. So I wouldn't say they apply to these pants. They're not exactly the same. If you want to have a little refresher, you can have a look at the video I posted at the beginning of 2024 in relation to the cleft coat that has a single welt pocket here. It's quite a narrow little welt pocket here. Some things are similar there, but not exactly the same as the Bridget trousers. So for these new pair of pants, you're going to see welt pockets on the back. There's darts there, so you have to cut across them, which is something different. Not hard, just different. And they can be either fake welt pockets or real welt pockets. The sewing construction is pretty much the same for the welt pocket that is fake all the way to the end. The only difference with the functioning one is the pocket bag that you sew on at the end. But basically all the first couple of steps are the same. So I have filmed them all for you so you can have a really detailed look at how to sew them, maybe have a little refresher. If you've sewn them before, you can remember how it is. There's always little snips going on and sewing tiny little triangles at the end. It's not hard, just practice on scraps, watch the next couple of minutes and you'll be sweet and ready to go to sew these amazing pockets on the Bridget pants tomorrow. But let's have a look at all the basic steps for the fake welt pockets first. Check out this fake welt pocket. That is the goal here. This is one finished leg. I just want you to see how it's going to look like. I have used a contrast black fabric so you can see the welt. Plus, with all these stripes, I think it would have been really messy to use this fabric to do it. So very many reasons. We're cutting through the dart right there. So yeah, I think it looks neat this way. It's top stitched all the way around like this. It's got the welt piece, but it's totally not functional. It just looks like it. And on the other side, it looks like this. We have a piece that just is serged on top. The top stitching that we did there catches this facing piece, and that's how it looks like on the inside. Super neat. So let's see how to get this done. From here to there are dots marked where the welt pocket is going to go. After sewing these dots, I marked the line that was on the pattern. It was actually just dots, and I joined the dots with a line and I marked it with thread. I wouldn't be able to see it otherwise. I can see it through there as well, the pink thread. Now I have this little piece of interfacing. There is a pattern piece for this. I cut mine slightly smaller, so 1/4 inch smaller than the pattern piece. I just want to make absolutely sure that this is not going to be seen and it's going to be covered by the welt piece because it's just way too contrasting. I'm going to make a little mark at where this half point is, which is actually the seam of the dart right there. That's the half point of the mark. So I can take that out. I know now I've marked the half here with that pin. So I'm going to center it over here, making sure I've got about 3/8 of an inch of interfacing above that mark because there's going to be a second line right here. And so that's where it's going to be placed, and I'm just going to fuse it on. Little bit of water there. I'm going to wait for that to dry, but this is stable now. I'm using interfacing that doesn't stretch. I actually want to suppress the stretch right there so that this can turn out nice and neat and not stretched out. And I'll repeat with the other side. I can still see my thread marks through there. They're right there centered, and this interfacing is about 3/8 of an inch higher. Okay, here I have one leg. You can see my thread marks there. I wouldn't see them otherwise, and I wanted to see them on both sides so I can place this properly. Now you can see up closer, you can clearly see the thread marks there that I've centered my interfacing there. I've got about 3/8 up here on the top, and I've still got space to sew the 2 lines that I have on my welt piece. Here is my welt piece that's partially interfaced with the lines marked. I'm going to take the top line and match it up against the thread line I have here, making sure they match on each side, that this line is right on top of my thread. Once I'm happy, I'm going to pin it in place. I'm actually going to give it a quick hand baste so that it really doesn't move. I'll do that. And then we're going to stitch these lines from one dot to the next, reinforcing each part, and then from one dot to the next. Okay, I've got everything in place. This line on the top matches the pink line I had on the pants. This is the top of the pants, the waist. If you measure the distance from this line to the edge of the welt piece, this is smaller here, and then from this bottom line it's bigger here. So these 2 lines are towards the top of the welt piece. Make sure that's matching well. And now we're going to sew from that dot to that dot, from that dot to that dot, and reinforce on each end. I'm using a tiny stitch length here, 1.5, which makes it more accurate and easier also to backstitch. Now I can remove these. These are going to get in the way if I leave them there. Now with the scissors, we're going to cut right through the middle of, and I make an opening and then go from the middle-ish to one extreme. I'm going to stop about 1/2 inch from each of these ends right there, and then cut to each corner. Very close to the stitch that I did, but not through it, of course. And then do the other side. Now we head over to the iron. We need to flip this to the other side. Okay, this is the wrong side. I'm just going to bring this over to the inside, and we're going to end up with a little rectangle like that. These seams, I'm going to iron them open first just to separate them like that, and then I'm going to press this up. And the same here. It's just easier if you press it open and then you press it down. It just sets nicely. There's a nice little rectangle. You can see that there's a smaller piece there and a larger piece there. That's why it was important to place the lines correctly. So now with this same piece, we're just going to fold it up until we cover that rectangle like that. So this fold is going to be right against the top of that little rectangle. I'm going to press it and steam. Put a lot of steam on this. But from the other side, it's going to look like that. Here we can see this little fold that reaches the top of that rectangle. From this side, it looks really nice. We still have these open edges right here. So like I can put this thing through this edge. We need to close that. With the right sides up, we're going to do this, and we're going to see that little triangle. And with the fold exactly like it is, we're going to sew right there, right along the edge there. I'm also going to do this with a small stitch length, and that's going to close the welt piece right there. Looking at it from the right side, just bring this over, and you're going to see that triangle straight away, including all the folds. And that's exactly how we need to sew, right against the edge. See, there's a little seam right there. There we have it. Now this is closed because of that tiny little seam we did right there. Now it's the same on this side. We just move this forward. We see that little triangle and we sew it. But I'm going to turn this around because it's easier for me to access from this side. This is how this looks like from the wrong side. We have these stitches right there that we can see. See them there? And now everything's caught in place right there. Triangle, triangle. I've got this little facing piece and I folded it lengthwise and just put some pins to mark the middle. And I'm just going to align that right there. And then just center it on top. Put a few pins. And to just make it easier, I'm going to do some quick hand basting just to hold this in place so it doesn't move anywhere. Once I've done that, we come this way to the right side and we're going to edge stitch around this little rectangle. When we edge stitch, it's going to hold this in place and it's going to cover everything. Okay, there's all the hand basting in pink thread holding this piece together. This has an L on it. It's also a type of blind hem presser foot, but different. When you move this, it moves this edge in or out, so you can actually get whatever seam allowance you want, and it's really helpful. I've set it here to about 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to use my presser foot to edge stitch, going all the way around. There it is, top stitched down. You can see the stitching on this side. I'm going to take away the pink threads. And then as I serge, I'm going to be trimming this excess, this piece that's right there. This is the same piece you use for the functioning welt pocket. You do all of this the same up to this piece here. This does not belong there, and then the pocket bag goes there. While I'm trimming this away, I'm making sure I'm just using the welt pieces. I'm moving the pants out of the way. So it's just this that I'm trimming away. Make sure the pant piece is actually not close to it. You don't want to poke a hole through it. And there we have it. Fake welt pocket. Looks exactly like one, but there's no pocket. They look like the real thing, right? But nope, nothing. You can't put your hand in there. There's no pocket bag. There's just a little facing on the inside. I love how they turned out, especially in the contrast black, so you can really see them. You saw that for this version with the fake welt pocket. I also used a knit fabric for the welt piece, and I get a contrasting welt pocket. The reason for that is I do not want to mess with matching stripes when I've got darts that have already distorted the stripe on the back. Add on a welt piece with stripes on it. I thought, no, that's not for me. That's why I ended up choosing a black piece there. Now, I could have chosen also a piece of woven. I could have interfaced a piece of linen and it would have worked fine. All the interfacing I'm placing in these sections is non-stretch interfacing. So I'm basically suppressing the stretch of that area, even though the fabric is stretchy. Right there where the interfacing is, where the welt piece is, it's not going to stretch. And when you sew, it's going to behave like a woven anyway. If you would love an easier experience, I'm the idea that you can make the welt piece out of a woven and you'll be fine. I have combined the woven welt pieces with knit designs before, like in my Coda jacket I made last year at the beginning of the year. I did that and that turned out amazing. So give that a go. You haven't seen me do that with this fake welt pocket piece. For the next version, it has the pocket bag and everything. You will see some sneaky woven in there. So you see that the pocket piece at the end, when you put the facing on, you trimmed away all that excess because you don't really need all that fabric if your pockets are going to be fake. They look extremely realistic from the outside. It's just that there's no pocket there. So the only difference that we're going to continue now is not trim away all that pocket piece, not put on that facing, and now we're going to add a pocket bag. So I'm going to show you on another pair of Bridget pants, that example. This is a Ponte version. I have used cotton fusible interfacing here, which basically turns this into a woven. There's no stretch here. I've got the same thread markings so I can see my line on both sides. I've got a pin marking the middle there. And here is my welt piece. It's linen. This is Ponte. I'm completely fine to combine them. And how look is this blue welt going to look against that? It's the exact same color. So right sides together, align the top line against the thread line that I have here. An extra piece is the pocket bag that we didn't have with the fake welt pocket. We just had a tiny facing piece. It's just a rectangle. I've serged all the edges the same way I have serged the welt piece. This one is all serged. I'm going to pin it and sew it just like I did the other one from dot to dot. Super accurate at the start and at the finish. Small stitch length. Just a refresher, I'm cutting through the middle now, stopping about 1/2 inch from each of these ends, and then cutting to the corners, but not through them. That's where you get the triangle that you sew on at the end. Then we head off to the iron, just like you saw with the other one, and turn it to the other side to get the nice little rectangle. Same steps as before, we're going to take this same piece and fold it over to cover the rectangle there. This linen presses so well, much better than the knit version did. This is how my pocket's going to look from the other side, super nice. Now we head to the sewing machine to sew these little triangles here and the little triangle over there. Okay, we slide this in here, just like it is, it's pressed, crisp, beautiful. We move the pant out of the way and that will expose your triangle there. And we want to sew flush against that. I use a tiny stitch length for this one. I have like a 1.8. There's a little seam. I find this so much fun. Love those little triangles. On the other side you can see a seam. So that's one side done, nice and closed off. And now this side, right there. Move this out of the way. Check out the little triangle and sew. Beautiful. Now up to this point, it's been the same as doing the fake welt pocket. At this stage, you would have pinned your facing in place. I hand basted mine and then done your top stitching all the way around. That would have fixed that facing in place, and then you cut the excess off of this piece and serge. But now we have to keep going with the pocket bag. The pocket bag is a long rectangle. Now mine is extra long. I made mine 4 inches longer because I wanted to cover more of the upper area of the welt pocket. I'm not making this up. I have done it like this before. So that is my preference here. You're not going to see the difference on the outside, but it'll cover more of the welt piece and the interfaced area. So this is my piece. I have written there right sides up. If your fabric has a difference, it's important that you have the right side of the fabric up. With mine, you can't tell. So let me just scoot that up there. Let's bring our back leg with the welt piece. This is the top part, that's the waist, that's the dart there. So this is how you want to now pin this, like that. Fabric right side up of your pocket bag. Now, if you use a really contrasting pocket bag, quilting cotton or something totally different from your pants, you will be able to see it when you put your hands in your pocket. So I wouldn't suggest doing that. That's why I'm using the same fabric as my welt piece. Or I would also be happy to use this ponte as well. Whatever doesn't look horrible when you put your hand in your pocket. So this is where we're going to sew this seam now with 3/8 seam allowance, and then we're going to press it open like that. It's just a really simple seam. There we have the simple seam. You didn't need to see me sew a straight line. 3/8 seam allowance, the seam is pressed open. And now this is where the instructions say to just bring this whole bag down like this. So the bottom part of the bag to the bottom part of the welt piece, which is fine, but it would leave all of this exposed like this little cut, the interfacing, and I don't want to leave that exposed. I want this to come up higher and cover that. That's why I made my pocket piece longer. That's the only reason. But it doesn't change the sewing technique. You're still sewing a seam there on the top of the welt piece, and you're still going to sew another seam here. So now looking at like this, bring this down and align it here at the bottom, and this is where you're going to sew another seam. 3/8 seam allowance, and you're also going to press it open. Same thing. You're basically sewing the pocket bag to the top and to the bottom of the welt piece. And now you can watch me sew a super fun straight seam at 3/8. Now I'm going to head to the iron and press this second seam open like that. We're going to have like a circle, see? Okay, there we have our pocket bag sewn. It's like a loop, a seam right there. I've got mine on the inside. You could also see the seam on the outside if you'd sewn it the other way, which I also see in pattern instructions. But I wanted that seam like that to be hidden. This seam at the bottom is open like that. Seam is going to be touching the pant leg right there. So this would be your pocket bag. You know, you could press this all down. That's fine. And then sew the edges and that's it. Or you could just scoot it up and cover all of that like I'm going to do
just personal preference here. I'm going to scoot it up to that seam right there. And this is how I'm going to sew it down like that. Now you're thinking, isn't this going to flop over? Most likely not, because I'm going to do some things to fix it in place. But first, let's get these seams done from the sides. They're super easy. I have already serged these edges, so I don't need to worry about finishing edges at this point. That has been done at the beginning, which is the easiest way to go, because otherwise all of this would be raw and then I would have to serge it. But I don't have to think about that right now. So I'm going to sew these seams, of course, not catching the legs, just the pocket piece. Okay, 2 seams done, pocket bags are done, seam allowances are the way they're supposed to be right here. No problem with that. Now let's see it from this side. Now I made my pocket bag a little longer, accounting for this extra fold that I have over here. I still have a good amount of space and depth in here. I could even put a phone. Yeah, fits perfectly. Over here on the top, I don't want there to be access to the welt piece and all of this business here. We can close it up from the inside and it's super discreet. So all I have to do now is just place this neatly right there, move this over, and then where you see that seam, the black stitch, I'm just going to sew right in there, catching all of this together. That's going to close off my welt piece from the top edge. When I move this up, it's going to be closed and there's no top stitching, nothing to be seen. Another option is to just edge stitch across this on the top and just catch all the layers. That would accomplish the same thing, but I want to do it the most discreet way possible, so I'm going to go from the inside. You can see I'm sewing on the same stitch. I can't get to the whole corner, but as far as I can go. So it's closed off, you know, I only have access to the welt pocket from here down, but not to the top area. So that is in essence going to hold all of this up. It's not going to fall out. And the other thing I'm going to do to help this stay like this is press it, of course. And then I'm going to do a little hand tack to this dart. I have quite a bit of a chunk of fabric that I can use for, you know, to do this with a dart. And it's not going to affect the outward look of the pant there. So that is my last step of my welt pocket. Just some hand tacking, a few little hand stitches right there to hold that in place. And that's done. I think this looks super nice and clean, very neat. I love it in contrast blue. I think it turned out really pretty. Okay, so I can put my hand in there and I have a good amount of space. Very neat. I love how they turned out. I think they're super pretty. Fake welt pockets and real welt pockets, singles on the back of pants. Now, if you really like these and you would like to put them on other garments, you certainly could. The only types of garments I wouldn't add welt pockets to on the back are skirts and pants that are pull up, have an elasticized waistband, because those you get a bit of gathering on the top and that could make the welt pockets look weird. I would use these on fitted bottoms that have darts or just a regular waistband but no gathering involved. At least that's what I think. But you can add them to other places like jackets and sides and here, you know. I'm just talking in relation to pants and skirts. Keep it for the fitted styles, and you know, if there's a patch pocket there and you want to swap it for a welt pocket, go ahead and use all of these pattern pieces and the technique and just plop them on there and you're gonna have a different look. If you really want to perfect it, the more you sew it, the better you get at it. So if you would love to accomplish this, the best way is just to start. And even the better way to just start is just grab some scraps, you know, just grab extra little pieces of fabric you might have around and practice a few times. You'll see that it's not hard. And then you go ahead and do it on your pants and you'll be very, very happy and very satisfied. I hope this was helpful. Make sure to tune in tomorrow to see my final 2 pairs of Bridget pants. That's all from me. I hope this was helpful. See you again tomorrow. Bye.